Hear me? Yeah, good. Got some nice food and drink. Well, thanks for coming to this early career panel. I think it's a nice complement to the afternoon's activities with the mentoring program. And for those of you who may not have been participating in that, it's a wonderful program that our GEMS board, the Graduate of Earth and Mineral Sciences Board, has put together, pairing undergraduate students with alumni mentors to get that sort of advice from representing, essentially all of the career destinations of our students. So we have successful and committed alumni who are eager to help students help find their way, not just through their classes here, but to see what's at the end of the rainbow, and really appreciate their participation in that. And I hope our students are taking good advantage of that. We now today have five alumni from the College of Earth and Mineral Sciences. They're here to share their experiences, and these are recent graduates from the college, and provide really a special opportunity for our students, not just to see what careers are out there and what life is like outside of Happy Valley, but also to talk about that transition and the challenges they faced and how they're overcome. So I really appreciate the time that they're spending here with us, and the expenses of traveling here to prepare their discussions with you and to give back to the college. It's really an important part of our relationship with you, and we really value it. So thank you to Zakariya, Sam, Alex, Mackenzie, and Tramond for their support and commitment. Let's give them a round of applause now. So for the students here, really encourage you to take advantage of their presence, theirs and some of the other alumni who are with us tonight. Pick their brains, ask some questions during the panel, and then we'll have some networking time afterwards to do some follow-up questions. So make sure that you take good advantage of this opportunity tonight. I'd like to now turn the event back over to our student monitor, Tim Jarrett. Tim is our undergraduate. He's an undergraduate student in material science and engineering, and he's also the president of the EMS Student Council. So let's welcome back Tim.
Thank you so much. So before we begin, I'd like to again thank Zakariya, Sam, Alex, Mackenzie, and Tramond for making time to be here. Additionally, I'd like to thank Dean Kump, as well as his entire office for advertising, as well as, again, for the GEMS board, all the hard work they put in making this night absolutely incredible, especially the planning committee, Shirley and Colleen as well. As we begin, each of our panelists will give a short introduction. After our introductions, we will open up the floor for questions. I have some prepared questions to start. However, in your booklets, you all should have gotten a card and a pen. Fill that out with any questions you have. We have several GEMS board members as well as exec board members from student council around. They will be coming around collecting questions. If you're coming around collecting questions, could you just stand up and wave your hands so you know who you are? So they'll be around to collect your questions, and then those will get passed on to me, and I'll ask them to the panelists. The question period will last until about 7:55 p.m., and then we'll have some closing comments, after which we'll move back out for a mixer with our panelists as well. So with that all aside, understanding that also, additionally, sorry, I forgot this, we will have, in your booklets, there's also a survey. So as the event's going on, take time to fill that out. The planning committee loves to hear your comments, especially regarding these kind of events. And we look to how we can make it the best possible, as physically possible. So moving on with that, make sure you take time to fill it out and then collect that at the end. With introductions aside and the schedule out of the way, I'd like to take time for our panelists to introduce themselves. We'll start with Jamal.
Can you guys hear me okay? Cool. My name is Tramond Baisden. First, I want to say thank you to all of you for taking time out of your schedules to come out and participate in this panel and ask some really good questions. These are always really good opportunities for yourselves to find out a little bit more about what it's like to be in the industry, apply to grad school, and what life after Penn State is like. So you're all making a really good investment in yourselves by being here. And thank you to the GEMS board for putting on this event. I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia, and I actually started my college career at Fort Valley State University, which is a small HBCU about an hour and a half south of Atlanta. and I was a part of the Cooperative Developmental Energy Program, which is a dual degree program that focuses on increasing minority and women participation in the energy industry. So I've known for a while that I wanted to go into energy, and specifically oil and gas. So after high school, I majored in mathematics and finished my BS degree there at Fort Valley in 2011. And then I transferred to Penn State, where I eventually earned a bachelor's in geosciences in 2013 and a master's in geosciences in 2015. Upon completion of my degree, I started working full-time at Shell Oil Company in New Orleans, where I currently am a production geologist supporting our producing assets in the offshore Gulf of Mexico.
All right, my name is Sam Baker. I'm originally from right here, actually. I grew up like 5 miles from campus. I sort of got into mining engineering early. I kind of knew that I wanted to go into the mining industry, but I wasn't 100% sure. So I wrote some letters to local mining companies and said, hey, can I come out and see what a mine looks like? I think I might want to do mining engineering. I did that when I was in high school and went out and toured a couple local coal mines in Pennsylvania. I liked the equipment, I liked being underground, I thought it was pretty cool. So applied to Penn State, got into their mining program. I came here, I got involved pretty quickly in the Society of Mining Engineering group here on campus, as well as the mine rescue team. That kind of led into getting internships. I worked for Peabody Energy Company throughout college as an intern during the summers in Colorado. Upon graduation, Peabody, as well as the rest of the coal industry, was in a pretty bad slump. And I went into the limestone industry, moving down to Nashville, Tennessee for 1.5 years. I worked in frontline quarry and mine management down there for 1.5 years. Got an opportunity to move back into the coal side in engineering. Took a job with Rosebud Mining Company out in western PA around Pittsburgh, and currently work there doing engineering for 15 underground coal mines.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Zakariya Khayat, and I'm from State College, Pennsylvania. Just found out this guy knew my brother. He's also from State College. So I got my undergraduate degree in material science engineering and minored in Spanish. And then I also completed my master's degree here at Penn State in material science and engineering. And pretty much I was very interested in the science of things. It took me a while to find material science. I started off as an energy engineer, and after the first semester, a little scholarship popped in my email box from the material science department. So hop ship over there, and I'm glad I stayed within material science. I greatly enjoyed it. Allowed me to travel the world. I went to Barcelona. I was in Jamaica. Went to New Mexico. All materials related work led me there. And currently now I'm a metallurgical engineer, or a metals engineer for Corning Incorporated. They're known for their glass. All you that have cell phones probably have interacted with Corning material. The Gorilla Glass is made by the company I work for, and I just started there about 1.5 years ago.
Hi guys, my name is Alex Tomoff. I am originally from Cleveland, Ohio. Did my undergraduate degree here at Penn State's Department of Meteorology, majored in meteorology, and got a minor in energy business and finance. Also got an option in weather risk management, my meteorology degree with honors. So that was in 2018, and currently now a second-year graduate research assistant at the University of Albany's Impartial City System. I work with my advisor, Dr. Paul Roundy, and we study the Mackenzie-Julian oscillation. For all the meteorologists in the room, you might know what that is, but for those who aren't, it's just basically a bunch of thunderstorms over that start over the Indian Ocean and move eastward. So that's about it right now. If you want to learn more about that, you can hop in the mixer afterwards. But yeah, it's good to see everyone here, and I'm looking forward to answering all your questions.
Hi everyone, my name is Mackenzie Williams. I see a lot of familiar faces because I graduated about 5 months ago. So I also have a very similar career path to Alex. I graduated with meteorology degree with the weather risk option and the energy business and finance minor. But I'm currently working as a rotational analyst at an energy company. So what that means is I'm going to participate in 3 different positions over 3 years to kind of figure out the best fit in the company. And right now I'm working on an energy management team. So we work with wholesale power generators, so the big power plants you see on like the side of the highway, just kind of help manage their day-to-day operations. But I'll talk more about that as you guys ask me questions. So that's it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for all your introductions. We're going to start with question period now. So the first question to start off with is, as you entered industry and kind of get started in your careers, what resources, contacts, and services did you use at Penn State and EMS to help you find internships and jobs? And did you utilize the career services or Ryan Fitness Student Center? Anybody can.
I can start because I guess I've done this most recently. So I was fortunate enough to get a job offer from the place that I interned with, which was really great. I love the company, so I was really happy to come back. I kind of went, I guess, the unconventional way and didn't use a lot of the EMS resources, but I used the EMS, or like the big university-wide career fair, and found that really helpful. But then kind of figuring out how to like gain career connections and kind of advance from the internship to like job stage, I really leaned on my like EMS mentor, so the person that I met at the kickoff, like this exact event last year. She was a really great connection to use, having been in the meteorology industry, having understood kind of what it is like being in that early career stage. So having this event and using her was really helpful to kind of understand how to communicate with the people in my career field and kind of get what I wanted out of like negotiations and that job experience.
I guess I'll follow up on that. Meteorology is a very small industry. We all kind of know each other, one big family, you could say. It kind of made a big difference for me getting into graduate school in terms of the resources that I used in order to get the position I have now. The meteorology career days, we have an event, I believe, in the winter, is when you guys hold that? In the spring, yeah, spring semester. And we essentially get to see a bunch of industry professionals and all the different things that they're doing. We get to network with them, and ultimately I learned about a number of different opportunities from that night, including being a student volunteer at the National Weather Service. And then from that I was able to apply and get that, and ultimately that kind of led to knowing a bunch of professionals in the industry who were able to essentially talk or give recommendations letters to my graduate school. And so and the fact that the people who were writing my letters knew the faculty at this at the University of Albany was definitely really helpful. So using the resources here and then kind of expanding that outward is kind of how I went about getting to where I am now.
Took somewhat of a similar path. Mining engineering is also a very close-knit industry. It's a very small major here at Penn State comparatively. What I did was, as a freshman, I just jumped in and tried to get involved with as much as I could, mining related, the SME Society, the mine rescue team. And through that at the time, and I think they still do it, within the mining department, we had mining companies come in and do info sessions just for the mining engineering kids. Usually in the fall, it'd be like, maybe 2 or 3 a month from September through like November. They'd come in and they would do an info session, have pizza, you could ask the company questions about what they did, sort of figure out if you were interested, and then you just signed up for interviews and interviewed with them. One of the professors I had, Dr. Rastami, who has since left the university, encouraged me as a freshman to just interview with everyone, get practice interviewing, see what I thought about it, and hey, maybe someone will offer you an internship. So that's what I did, and then those internships kind of just helped me make more connections and snowballed into meeting more people in the industry.
So for me, just one incident that allowed, I worked with the College of Earth Mineral Sciences for was freshman, sophomore year, I hung out a lot at the Ryan Family Student Center. By hanging out there, I was able to meet a lot of upperclassmen, and I was able to develop a good connection with a senior that was working on his senior design project. And then this is where I went to Jamaica. He asked me, do you want to go to Jamaica? But yeah, man, respect. So through that, I was able to meet him, and then I pretty much was able to go to Jamaica and just kind of worked on the field, and we installed some solar system panels on the farm. That was just probably one unique opportunity. Majority of the career advice I got was probably from the Department of Material Science and Engineering, and then once I became a graduate student, it was really through my advisor helping me kind of pursue where I want to be in terms of a professional engineer.
I would say for geosciences, taking advantage of relationships that you build with faculty, so your professors, if you're doing a senior thesis, if you reach that level, taking advantage of those relationships and finding out, if those faculty have some people that they've worked closely with on projects that you might be interested in, especially for undergraduates. If you're interested in oil and gas industry, a lot of times those companies only hire master's or PhD level students for internships. So as an undergrad, it's really crucial to kind of start building your resume as early as you can, and one good way to do that is through research experiences for undergraduates. So I know, at least when I was here, I think the program probably still exists, but SROP, which is the Summer Research Opportunities Program, they have faculty all over the college, or all over the university actually, that you can work with for a summer, doing basically a paid internship, and gaining valuable research experience, which can be really helpful for when you start to apply for graduate school. So that's definitely one resource to take a big advantage of. It's just the people that are around you.
Thank you. So kind of, if we look at our diverse selection, some that pursue higher education, some that are currently pursuing, and then some that went right into industry. So if we each kind of go through and talk about how you decided whether or not you pursue grad school versus industry, what are the pros and cons?
I guess I'll jump right back in there. So yeah, things have changed a little bit in recent years. There are some oil and gas companies that will hire undergraduates for intern and full-time opportunities. When I was finishing up my undergraduate degree in 2013, oil and gas was doing pretty well, but I still knew that, graduate school was something that I wanted to do, and also something that I needed to do in order to secure a position in industry. So I decided to pursue a master's degree. I didn't know at that time whether I wanted to continue on into a PhD or not, but once I kind of got towards the end of wrapping up my master's degree, I leaned more towards going right into industry. And one thing that was extremely beneficial, especially through the College Director of Mineral Sciences, was the Petroleum Geosystems Fellowship, which I was awarded after graduating from undergrad. And this program requires you to take 3 or 4 additional courses that are more related to the petroleum industry to really give you a heads up of what's going on in the industry and provide you with a bit more grounding in order to enter a career in oil and gas. So I guess for the geosciences specifically, I would just say do your research on the companies that you're interested in, and if there are opportunities for undergraduates, start to build up your resume and find out, attend info sessions, even if they're targeting the graduate students. Start to network and build relationships with people that are coming to recruit for these companies, so it can help you get your foot in the door.
I guess I took kind of the opposite approach, but not really on purpose. I'm a pretty indecisive person, and so I gave myself a lot of options. I took the GRE in the fall and applied for jobs, just to kind of give myself the option to go to grad school or, to kind of start right into industry. As I mentioned before, I really enjoyed my internship the summer after my junior year, and being offered a job back at the same company in a similar position really swayed me towards the just like diving right into industry work. I also talked to a lot of students that were in grad school or like went straight to grad school, worked with my mentor a lot, and I realized that getting a couple of years of experience would not hinder me at all when entering grad school, and would also possibly give me a little bit of an advantage to have, you know, industry knowledge and direct like business acumen. So I kind of decided to take the opportunity that I knew I would enjoy, and I was really looking forward to kind of starting my career. But I do plan on eventually going to grad school. My GRE scores are good for 5 years, so catch me in the next 5 years in some grad school. But I definitely think if you are kind of in a position where you're not sure what decision you want to make, keep your options open. Studying and taking the GRE, applying for jobs, it's not a difficult thing to do. I definitely would recommend taking it now while you're in school mode, you're in test taking mode. You'll probably get a better score than if you wait a year or so and you're kind of out of, you know, like the algebra and like all the school stuff that you are already used to. But just don't be afraid to give yourself the option to kind of do either one. I really enjoy my job and I'm really glad that this is the path that I decided to take, but I definitely was not, I had no idea what I wanted to do like fall of senior year.
Yeah, I just want to follow up on Mackenzie's comments there. So in my position junior year here, there was no way I was going to grad school. It was not the thing I wanted to do. I wanted to go ahead and get a job first thing after graduating. But then I roomed with 3 PhD, or people who are going to become PhD students. My roommates senior year were all going to move on to the PhD programs, and they told me, you should go take the GRE. And I'm like, why would I do that? And so we eventually went all down to Harrisburg, and we took the test together. And I started looking a bit more into grad school, and you know, there were certain things that kind of resonated with me on the benefits of going to get my graduate degree, get my master's. The biggest thing was when I interned at the National Hurricane Center. One of the senior forecasters there, he said, we would love to have you stay, but we would really like for you to have your master's degree. And that was the thing that kind of stuck in my mind for a while, just kind of messed with me a bit. And it's like, all right, so what this master's degree is going to do is it can open up much more opportunities, more doors to go through. And while I was also applying to jobs similar to Mackenzie, at the same time I was also looking at going to grad school, I just wanted to have the options there. And regarding the GRE itself, I'm not a very good standardized test taker. And I know there are plenty of people who are also like that. They may be good at research, they may be good and have a good GPA, but maybe their standardized testing is not that good. Don't be scared of taking the GRE. There are many departments and universities recently that are starting to maybe look at it a bit less. This doesn't apply to all, but specifically at Albany department, they've been starting the conversation even this last 2 weeks in their faculty meetings about, is the GRE truly representative of how we should be assessing our candidates to become part of our programs. So there's a lot to look at in how to be a successful graduate student. The GRE is not the #1 thing, and if you don't do well at that, don't stop that. Don't let that stop you from applying. So I just wanted to kind of add that in there a little bit.
So for me, I was just scared to death after undergrad to go into the industry. And so I just stayed as a student for 2 more years. So I actually took 5 years as an undergrad, and that was really just because I loved taking classes and having the opportunity to just take so many different classes that were offered to me. So you see, I minored in Spanish, but I also took Arabic courses, I took French courses, I took IST courses, I took EE courses. I was just really into having the opportunity to take so many different types of courses that were just interesting to me. So that kind of after 4 years, I was like, no, I want to take some more courses, it's too fun. And then the second year, I was like, all right, I'm tired of undergrad, let me go pursue a master's degree. I think one of the most beneficial decisions in my life was getting my master's degree because it allowed me to go into the industry and hit the ground running. I studied metallurgical engineering. I am a metallurgical engineer, and so when I went into industry, I was really able to kind of gain the respect from my colleagues almost instantly. I had the opportunity to work on projects instantly. I had the street cred per se, and by pursuing that master's degree, it really allowed me to see kind of what I can do as a professional engineer now. So it was pretty much I wasn't ready. And then I wanted to get out, and I ended up in Corning, and really it's just been fun because I wanted to do something that was technically challenging. A lot of people at the career fair are always kind of getting you into a engineering leadership rotational program, and I was like, I just did my master's because I want to be technical do you have anything that's like technically suiting for me? So Corning had that, and it really allowed me to kind of develop those technical skills. So if I wanted to go anywhere further in life, I need those technical skills to just develop that respect from managers and future co-workers.
So within mining, I personally knew that I wanted to go right into industry after school. And within the mining industry, there's sort of 3 different tracks you can take. You can go into one of the government agencies that deals with mining. You can go into industry, private industry, or you can go into consulting. Private industry, which is what I wanted to do, the emphasis is strongly on practical work experience. So most of the actual mining companies, at least the ones that I've been involved with and spoken with, place a very heavy emphasis on doing summer internships, having worked out in the field. Usually those summer internships are some sort of a rotational internship where you work in the mine, you work on the hourly crews, you operate equipment, you learn how the mine works. Then in your second or third internship, you actually get a little more responsibility and work on projects. The grad school route is certainly more valuable if you want to take one of the other routes within mining. Government, academia, or consulting, all of them place a heavy emphasis on grad school. I had friends in mining that went that route, were pretty successful with it, and are continuing down that path, but personally I went the industry route.
So moving on to the next question. When did you feel, after entering your grad school industry, that you would consider yourself a professional? Can you highlight the transition from being a full-time student who maybe has 4 months of industry experience to someone who's working full-time as an adult?
So I'll jump back in, I guess. For me, it was about a year, and that's a year after graduation. That's not a year counting the internships. In both of my jobs, and I was sort of sooner in the second job, but right after I graduated, I moved down to Tennessee. In college, I'd sort of envisioned myself taking an engineering role right out of school. Due to the demands of the industry, I wound up being in frontline management, working as essentially a foreman trainee. I learned to like that a lot, but there were a lot of things that I weren't expecting. You're dealing with people every day, you're managing people as a 21 or 22-year-old that are 30, 40 years older than you and have been doing this their whole life. You know, so that taught me a lot. You have to be very humble, approach things sensitively, and just recognize that you have a lot to learn. You know, you don't have most of the answers, even though you're in a supervisor role. So I'd say after about a year of doing that, I got to a point where I was comfortable managing people, making decisions, being accountable for purchasing, or why we bought this instead of bought that, or why we decided to produce this day or do maintenance that day, and felt that I could answer for those decisions and explain myself. But there's definitely a learning curve. I'd say about a year for me.
So for me, it was when I got paid like a professional. So, and also, I mean, like a great respect comes with great responsibility also. So I'm getting paid like a professional, but now I have to act like a professional. And I remember when I first started, when the funny thing is I went to my boss and was like, I'm interested in going to Penn State, you know, developing a network and recruiting. He said, okay. I was like, that's it. And it was like a sign to me, like, you know, now I'm a professional, now he trusts me, and now it's like, you figure out how you get your work done. And as long as you do it, that's cool with me. So it was very, like, that was like an eye-opening experience. It was like, okay, I guess I'm treated like a professional now. Having the opportunity to travel to conferences and different things like that really just was like, okay, like I still need to keep up my end of the bargain. I still need to, you know, deliver. At the end of the day, delivering on results in terms of like whatever projects you're working on allows you to do all these different things. The reason why I'm able to come here and be with all you is because I've been able to deliver technically to the projects I've been working on. And being the new guy, it doesn't last too long. I might have had 3 months of being the new guy, but one of the coolest things in those 3 months is that nobody really kind of pays attention to you, so you have the opportunity to learn as much as you can. So I went and like watched the welder and just would ask him questions and then like talk to him about like what he does. I would just kind of go walk around different parts of the building, schedule one-on-ones with different people, when like nowadays it's very difficult after working for a year or so, finding the time to just like learn from others. So it comes with great responsibility of being a professional, but if you deliver on results, you get treated like one. And once you get treated like one, it gives you the freedom to truly do what you want to do. And it probably took me about a few months.
So I just wanted to say, being a grad student, that's a title, I'm still a student. But at the same time, I think what I didn't realize before applying to become, to take this position, I didn't realize that half of my work is that professional work. I am a researcher. I have to produce work on my research projects. Like every week I have to report to my professor, my advisor. And I think the biggest thing is the schedule is very different than in undergrad. When I did my research in undergrad, it was usually in the very, very, very late hours of the night in Walker Building. I was doing my honors thesis, but at grad school, I was kind of concerned, am I just going to be working nonstop again on my research? Hardly the case. It's a regular 5-day work week for me. I get into the office around 9 or 10, and I stay until 6, get some dinner, and I go to slip practice. It's how you want to organize your time, and that's what made it feel professional to me, was the different schedule. And then being able to work on a project that goes over a year or two, and you really get to meet a lot of cool professionals. You get to present your work at conferences. These are all very important things that make being a graduate student feel a lot more professional than being an undergrad. And while my undergrad experience was great, it just really felt like it was the professional side of things would always kind of get pushed to the side, and being a student was the first and most important thing. But being in grad school, it feels like I'm able to focus much more on my professional goals and career options, and being able to focus on the work I'm most passionate about.
I'm not sure I'm there yet. I've been working for 4 months, and so it's like a little bit past what a summer internship is, but like now it's fall. So I think I'm still kind of trying to figure out what it feels like for me to be a professional. I really enjoy my role, and I love what I do and like the work environment that I'm in, and my coworkers and my team. But I think I'm still kind of trying to navigate the new person role, like Zakariya was saying, like being the new girl on the team. And so I'm still kind of trying to figure out, where I fit professionally in my team and within my company. Still meeting new people every day, asking a ton of questions, getting a ton of emails that I don't know the answer to, and like phone calls that I like don't know how to respond. So I think every day there's something that shows me that I'm like still learning, but I think that's also like what you were saying, like one of the best parts is being able to like learn so much. And in such a different environment. Like it's not like learning in a lecture hall, it's like you're on the job, you're doing it day by day. And so hopefully, one day I'll feel like a professional, but like, I don't think I'm there yet.
So I'll be 4 years with Shell in a couple weeks here. Not that I've been working a lot longer than you guys have, but I still feel like every day that I go into the office, I'm constantly learning. I don't think that ever ends, especially, regardless of your industry, like things change all the time, the ways of working change, people's interpretations of how processes should be carried out change. But I would say it probably took me a solid 1.5 years, 2 years before I felt really comfortable in my role. And part of that is to do with the fact that the oil and gas industry was going through a very tumultuous period when I began my career. So in 2015, I started middle of October. I wasn't necessarily assigned to a team. We were going through a reorganization. I didn't really know who my boss was. I don't think my boss knew who my boss was. But despite all of the chaos, I was still dropped right into work and expected to produce as if I had been there for a year. So my first assignment was to put together a series of maps that we had to send to the government regulators regarding some wells that we had drilled previously but hadn't been used for a while. So not only was I doing real work, I was interfacing with government as someone who had only been on seat for like a month. So imagine how stressful that was. And then beyond that, as a geologist at Shell, in my current role, I don't necessarily have one expertise, so I do a little bit of well delivery, which is actually planning and executing oil wells in the Gulf of Mexico, and then the other half of my job is integrated reservoir modeling, so working with interdisciplinary teams to come up with several realizations of what we think the subsurface looks like and how it behaves in order to plan for future wells. So I was balancing learning how to fit into the organization, learning how to do well delivery, learning how to do reservoir modeling, and then just being a professional throughout it all. So it took me a little bit of time to feel really comfortable. Despite the fact that I know I was contributing and I know I was doing good work, there was just a lot of questions that I had to ask and a lot of things that I had to learn throughout my journey. And like I said, I'm continuing to do that to this day, and I don't foresee that changing in the future. So I guess what I would say is, when you start working, don't feel like you need to be afraid to ask questions. 99% of the time, all of the people around you want to see you succeed. It's not really like a group project in college where you do your part, and then you come together at the end. No, everybody's performance, to an extent, depends on performance as a group as a whole. So everybody wants to see you succeed. So don't let that feeling of being the new person hold you back from excelling.
What was one thing that you did not do while at Penn State in the College of Geosciences that you wish you had done? And this could be in terms of coursework, outside activities, and scholarship. And how do you think it would have helped you in your career?
I think something that's really important that all of you can do, regardless of your discipline, is find somebody who works in the industry that you're interested in and find out what the hot topics are, what recruiters are really looking for. For example, you might not think firsthand that an oil and gas company would be really interested in data scientists or any kind of machine learning and artificial intelligence, but we spend a lot of time at work hearing about all these new projects that our technology teams are coming up with, new technology that's being deployed in the field, where we're analyzing all of this data that we get in and try to pick out trends, figure out how we can use past production to predict when wells will fail, and a lot of things like that really required skills in data analytics, big data, statistics. Reach outside of your discipline and see what things can make you a little bit more marketable and attractive to some of these companies.
So I would second that, 100%. One thing that I did not do while I was at Penn State that I very much wish that I had was, as an engineering major of any sort, take my EIT exam. Multiple mining professors hammered us, you need to take this while you're still in school, you're in test-taking mode, you've just taken all the classes, get your fundamentals of engineering out of the way, and then you can take your PE test down the road and get your professional engineering license. I didn't do that. I was too busy slacking off senior year, and that was a mistake. I had a light course load, and I said, oh man, this is going to be a great year. I don't want to spend it studying for this stupid test. So I didn't, and I graduated and got a full-time job where I was working long hours and had real responsibilities, and then decided I wanted to take the test and get it done with. And just that 1 year gap from when I was in school and had taken all of those physics classes and math classes, it was a struggle. You know, the test was not as hard as I thought it was going to be in terms of difficulty of questions, but just the variety of questions really touched on all of the classes that I had taken at Penn State. And I remember sitting in the test-taking center, taking it, thinking, man, I would have passed this thing with no problem had I taken it when I was in Penn State and everyone told me to. I really wish I had done that. And I took it and I passed it, but it was a lot harder than it needed to be because I didn't do it here.
So I wish I took more advantage of the travel opportunities within the College of Earth and Mineral Sciences. What I realized is, like, when you get into the professional world, when you travel, it's on your nickel. When you're in college, you have the opportunity to get scholarships. The College of EMS is heavily involved and makes an effort to send students on different experiences abroad. And those are great cultural experiences that allow you to just learn more culturally or be culturally aware of different areas in the world. And I know the college EMS does that, and I wish I took more opportunity of that.
One thing I wish I maybe did a bit more of back in my undergrad time was going to more of our department's colloquium series. My sophomore year, I went to a few of them, and I learned a lot from those. I got pushed right into the very most novel research that's going on in our field. And it really wasn't until my first year of graduate school at Albany, we have our own seminar series as well, where we invite guest speakers. One of them here from Penn State as well last semester. And you really get to appreciate how much there is to learn from people's research. And I wish maybe, like, my schedule got very filled up and pretty busy in my junior and senior years, but I really wish I set aside more time to meet these people coming to visit our school and to also meet more people in our graduate program at Penn State. I got to meet a lot of the grad students by taking classes with them my senior year as part of my honors program, but I think I could have started that a bit earlier and even got to know more people through that seminar series, as I realized at Albany that that's one of the most important things that you can do in our field.
This is tough because I feel like they said a lot of really good things. This doesn't necessarily answer the question, but one of the things that I did wish I did while in school was kind of branch out of the College of EMS a little bit more. As a lot of you know, I was really involved with EMS and STUCO and FON and just like kind of anything that had to do with like Diker Walker building. And so I kind of wish that I had done more like outside within the university as a whole, just to kind of be a more well-rounded Penn State student. Penn State is such a large just organization, and there's so many really awesome opportunities that we get by being such a big school, and I kind of wish I had taken advantage of some of those more, some of the speakers that came and the shows that we had and the events that are going on all over campus all the time. So that's one small regret.
I got 2 more points I'll add. First, I'll say Alex and Mackenzie, I think you two are probably in a much better position than I was going into the door. So if you go into industry, you're not there to do cool research projects just for academic purposes. You're there to provide support for the bottom line, to make money, right? So I've been in meetings, and I still go to some meetings, and they start talking about all kinds of economic indicators and why we make business decisions we do based off of a series of all kinds of numbers and acronyms, and I'm sitting there lost because I have no idea what a lot of this business and finance stuff is. So if you have an opportunity to take some fundamental economics, finance classes, absolutely take advantage of that opportunity, as well as personal finance, right? So let's be real, like we're in STEM fields, you're going into some very lucrative industries, you're going to be making a lot of money, and you need to know how to manage it once you get out of school. Happy hour every day is not the way to spend it. And then second point, to piggyback off of Zakariya, taking advantage of travel opportunities is definitely something that I wish I had done more of. I actually did branch out of EMS, and I did a tropical ecology field course through the biology department, and I spent 2 weeks in Costa Rica over winter break playing in the rainforest. Absolutely one of the best experiences I had in my life culturally, as well as branching outside of the geosciences to gain an appreciation for some of what my other colleagues are working on. I think that's a really good skill to have when you go into industry as well, because you're not just going to be working with people who studied the same things as you. So to be able to think critically about other disciplines and intermingle that with what you specifically studied is a really good skill to have.
Sorry, not to hijack your question, but I just wanted to add on to what Tramond said about finance, because I think it's such an incredible point that no matter how much you're making out of college, you're going to be making way more money than you've ever made before. And so it is really important to understand how to manage it and to not be afraid to talk to people about it. I think that's a big thing about entering the industry, is like everything's really hush-hush about like your salary and everything. And obviously, pay attention to decorum, but, talk with your friends about negotiations and, or make sure you're making what you deserve. You are graduating from an incredible college with an incredible education, and you deserve to make what reflects that. But also, like we were saying, read up about personal finance and budgeting. It is really important that you're not, happy hours fun, but you just have to pay attention to what you're doing. It's a really important part of, I think, transitioning from college to the professional world that isn't always talked about. Because I know, even if you're working jobs in college, you're making enough for food and bar money, and it's very different when you're getting a salary or even, a graduate school stipend. So just make sure that's something you're paying attention to because it's really important.
Those are a lot of good points, especially it's something you don't consider. I'm a senior this year, and I'm just like, okay, I have my part-time job, I'm working, like, I'm making ends meet, but I'm not really thinking about what happens once I get my full-time offer. So there's definitely a lot of really good points. So moving to the next question, how long after starting your career did you have to face a big written, but I think almost unsurmountable, something that seems impossible, that kind of challenge? What was that specific challenge and how did you overcome it?
So on the first day I met with my advisor, he gave me his code that does crazy things that I was like, there's wavelet analysis and Fourier transforms. I remember a little bit about that from one of my math classes, but I did not know anything that was going on in that code. And he gave me a Python script and says, come back to me when you kind of go through and commented a bit and we can talk about it. It took me about 2 months to actually figure out what that code was doing. And those 2 months really sucked, to be honest. I was not sure, I felt like not confident in myself some of the times, but what I learned to do was just to ask questions. He didn't say anything. Like he said, he could answer everything I had. Like the guy's brilliant, my advisor. It was just, I became much more comfortable through that difficulty by talking to my advisor. And honestly, it was really a big learning experience, just being handed what seemed like an impossible task and just slowly grinding away at it one day at a time, just becoming more confident in my own knowledge of this research field.
So for me, it was in grad school. It was like one of the first times where I kind of just walked out of the office and just had no idea how to solve the problem. It was just like, okay, I just really don't know where to start. And so it was just, like saying that to yourself was difficult and challenging, and it was just, okay, I really just don't know where to start. I don't know who to talk to, I don't know how to solve this. But what I ended up doing was just like kind of decomposing the problem smaller until I understood until I found out what I did know, and then I built off from that. And graduate school just, I think for me, really prepared me for the industry because it was extremely challenging. But you don't go to the gym you go to the gym to look good, and at the gym you work hard. So in graduate school that was like my gym, and now that I'm in industry, it allows me to kind of face things a lot easier and understand to myself like, okay, I've been through this before. It doesn't mean I'm still getting challenged, but it's just that having that confidence within myself that said, okay, I faced this before, let me go through like the same routine in terms of how to solve this problem, gives me comfort.
So I think I was maybe 10 months into working, and I had been shadowing another geologist on a well that we were about to drill. And the opportunity for me to go offshore for one of our exercises is called the drill the well on paper, where you travel to the rig. In this case, it was a drill ship, and you meet with the rig crew supervisors, the folks who will actually be executing the well, and go over kind of the subsurface risks, uncertainties, talk about the target, what you expect to see as you're drilling the well. I had some conversations with some folks before I went offshore, so I knew a little bit of what to expect, but I wasn't fully aware of what it was really going to be like. And a lot of the conversations that I had is like, oh yeah, these are pretty informal, don't worry about it too much, it'll be fine. When I got offshore, so the way things work in the oil and gas industry, typically the operating company, so Shell in this example, does all of the planning of the well, and you'll have contractors that actually drill the wells and man the rigs. So the moment you step foot on any of those platforms or drill ships and they see that Shell Pectin logo, they look to you for the answers. So here I am. I've seen a couple PowerPoints. I haven't led any meetings. I know what we're planning to do. I know a good bit about what the uncertainties are, what they need to be aware of. They start calling me the rock doctor and asking me all kinds of questions, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, whoa, it's not why I'm here. If you got those kind of questions, we're gonna ask her. But I kind of had to like take a step back, take a deep breath. I knew the answers to the things that they were asking, but it was a little overwhelming for me to feel like I had that much responsibility on my shoulders that quickly, especially when I hadn't done kind of the fundamental background work that went into this project. But it was really helpful because it gave me some experience on what it's like to be offshore, what it's like to be the point person, and what it's like to have, you know, that kind of pressure on your shoulders. But overall, I mean, it was a good experience. It did frighten me a little bit, but since then I've been able to take the learnings from that experience and be very prepared going into any operations that I've taken part in since then.
So the biggest, I guess, challenge that I faced the earliest in my career was I started, you know, down in frontline management in Tennessee, and I'd been there for about 3 or 4 months. I'd made a couple friends who I worked with that were, you know, also new mining engineering college grads or had been there for only a year or two. My boss was the area manager who managed like 5 or 6 quarries, and then there was another area manager who managed different 5 or 6 quarries in the area. And they were kind of locked in a power struggle of sorts. One day the other area manager called me over and said, hey, you know, your boss is out of pocket, you're going to be reporting to me for now, blah, blah, blah. And the next day I found out they fired my boss. So I had a new boss, and it was this other guy. And he got put over all the sites, and quickly learned that he and I had sort of different philosophies about management and the way to do things. And he had different philosophies than a lot of the plant managers. And due to that, he would micromanage them. So because of that, I learned very quickly, sort of learned and also didn't learn in some cases, how to productively deal with personnel problems like that. You know, I was faced with a scenario where I didn't agree with a lot of the decisions my boss was making as far as economics and why we were doing things. There was discord in the ranks, and I sort of had to deal with all of that, and it helped have a friend and a peer in the same situation I was. We would talk about it after work and in private, and just sort of learn what you could do within the boundary lines without going out of bounds and getting yourself in trouble or being looked at askance. And it was really challenging for someone 3 or 4 months out of college. It ended up being resolved. He got moved to a different position, and it became not really our problem anymore. But there for about 6 months, you know, you just had to learn to hold your tongue in a lot of instances, not say what you really thought, and just try and make the best of it and do what you thought was the right thing within what you were told to do. So it was kind of a big challenge.
So 3 weeks after I started, my manager went to Disney World and put me on his out of office. As an energy management team, we are basically the point person for our generators. For any question, any data request, pretty much anything that comes to their mind, it is written in a contract. It is our job to answer it. So what I've realized now, and I get these now, is like he would get, you know, a ton of emails and phone calls every day asking questions that he knew the answers to. And then 3 weeks into the job, I did not know the answers to. So my phone was ringing off the hook, my email was blowing up, and I had no idea how to even go about responding to anything that anyone was requesting of me. So it was incredibly overwhelming for the first couple days, and then, like Alex said, I realized that I just needed to kind of ask questions and reach out and lean on the rest of my team and other people in the office. And it was a great way for me to meet people really early on. I was kind of going up to people and being like, hi, you don't know me, but I have a question that I don't know how to answer, and I was told you could help me. And it was really a great way to start forging relationships. And now I feel way more comfortable answering those questions. And even if I don't know the answer, knowing now who to go to. And so he's taken vacation since, and it's been great and less overwhelming, but it was definitely seemed like an insurmountable challenge at the time.
So I'll say one thing briefly. So as an undergraduate student, you know, many of you interact with other undergraduate students. And when you get into the professional world, now you're actually interacting with people that are the age of your professors, people that probably are the age of your parents, and you're interacting with them like continuously. You know, you aren't just taking a semester class with them, you aren't just working with them on a group project. And so you really need to learn to develop those communication skills where you actually now interact with people that are older than you. And that's something that like really jumped out at me right away. I was like, oh, okay, like I have to think about what my parents' interests are to make a connection with this person. And I mean, it was difficult, and it was like, okay, like, man, this is difficult. So it was, and I never thought of it because in college I was around people of similar age, and then you can also now similar interests and further interests, and you can really, you know, kind of get really a tight-knit group per se. But when you work in the industry or in the professional world, you're going to be with this is your team, and you're working together until someone retires, someone leaves the company, and you know, for the most part, you're probably the youngest one there. So you know, somebody told me something was like, you millennials give people one chance. That you'll go get lunch with somebody, and if it doesn't go well, that's it. Like you won't reach out again, something like that. And so it just made me think like, why, like try to give 2 chances. Try to figure out something that you can develop a connection with. And I think really learning those communication skills with people from just a different generation than you will really allow you to be successful in a professional world.
And use Penn State. We were talking about this like as a panel. The great thing about going to such a huge university like this is you're going to find people, no matter where you go, what industry you're in, that are Penn Staters or know someone from Penn State, or like went, you know, like have kids that went to Penn State. So definitely take that and use that to your advantage. You'll find people that have like really great tailgates, so when you come back, but it's a great way to kind of bridge that gap. At least you know you have, you know, one thing you can talk about. And like, you know, every Monday you can talk about the football game. Like you have a conversation starter, so definitely use that to your advantage.
Actually, I love to follow up on Sam's comments about working. We all of you have talked about relationships with mentors and supervisors that you've had. Excellent. However, the reality is oftentimes that may not happen. So maybe you could talk about some experiences you've had and how you've worked through those, kind of working with difficulties, especially in the professional setting and not just some part-time job.
So I think probably about 10% of the supervisors that you have will be excellent, will be superb, will be amazing. And the other 90%, not so much. And so you need to learn how to develop like 360 leadership skills that you actually coach your supervisor. You need to learn how to ask questions in a way that get them thinking about, oh, I never thought about that for Zakariya. Oh, I didn't see that he perceived it like that. And so learning those skills to kind of coach your supervisor are crucial because the majority of your supervisors aren't going to be the best. Very few. My current boss or my previous boss was just like a father figure almost. He was just like, he just cared about a lot of things. He would just send text messages and that. Now I just recently got a new supervisor, and it was a completely different field. And so I had to learn now, oh man, I have to learn how to go into these one-on-ones. And the way that I was successful with these and learning about the 360 leadership was by having different mentors. Mentors from within the company, mentors outside of the company, mentors that are also diversified within their professional realm. And they would give me advice on how to operate or work through a one-on-one now with a supervisor that isn't top-notch per se. And at the end of the day, everybody's learning, everybody's improving. So just because the supervisor isn't the best doesn't mean that they can't achieve greatness. We all started as freshmen, now we're going to graduate as seniors or go on to pursue it. And we also had a learning curve as well in college.
So I don't have any specific examples that I want to talk about, but I will say, just when you begin your career and you start at a new job, at a new office, go in with an open mind. Sometimes companies will have stereotypes about the types of people that they hire and the personalities that you'll find common in an office. But I think the best thing that you can do is go in and give everyone a chance. Figure out how you need to interact with different people. We're all different. We all come from different backgrounds. We have different styles and ways of communicating. So take opportunities to really get to know the people that you're going to be working with, so you know how to navigate some of the tougher times that you might encounter with different people.
Yeah, I just wanted to stress the importance of the relationship that you can build with your advisor, your PI, when you go into graduate school and you're working on your project. Particularly even when you're interviewing possibly for this position, make sure that the advisor that you may be working with is the right fit for you. It's not like when you apply for a job, you kind of get forced to have a supervisor or a boss, you don't get to pick them. In this case, you may be able to pick who your advisor is. There are a number of positions open in the department. And so in my case, I think my advisor was the one who fit my personality the most, the type of learning style that I enjoy the most. He's a bit more hands-off. Essentially, I'll do my work and I'll report back to him, and we'll have a meeting if we need to. But we don't really have a structured schedule by any means. We kind of just learn on the fly a bit, and I kind of enjoy that process. It just feels the most productive to me. But again, that's different for everyone. Maybe someone wants to have a list of tasks that they have to have done by the end of the week. So you just want to make sure that you understand what your advisor expects of you and what you can expect from your advisor as well. And also just making sure you build relationships with the rest of your department in times that maybe you will run into some conflict in the future. Our department at Alumni is a very sociable department. We do a lot of activities outside of the classroom. For instance, we go on hikes. We have a soccer team that we play once a week. The head of our graduate program is on that team. And it's really just a good way to get to know them better. And it's a good team building exercise, I believe. I quite like the soccer team. But it's just something that a lot of people maybe take for granted. In undergrad, we all kind of get to know each other, all the same age, kind of going back to that. But when you're working with people who are older than you or maybe different backgrounds and everything, you have to find ways to be able to relate to them better so you can work more effectively as a group.
Yeah, I would say just, find some peers that you can sound your ideas out with. In the previous example that I talked about, I talked to plant managers or supervisors that I was close with and knew that I could talk to in confidence, without being judged, and said, hey, this is kind of my impression of the scenario, what do you think? And it turned out that in that instance that they had pretty similar opinions to me. But in other instances, I thought, on different companies or different people, said, hey, what do you think about this? I'm not sure I agree with this decision. And they'd say, oh, well, I think it's perfectly reasonable for X, Y, Z. And I've been on the other side of that too. I've had friends or colleagues come to me and say, hey, I was talking to so-and-so and they said this, I don't really think I agree with it. What do you think? I said, oh, no, I think that's a good thing to be doing and this is why, and then talk about it. And just make sure that, you're not way off base or out in the wilderness before you, have an opinion set in stone.
Yeah, I think I've been fortunate enough to have managers that I have gotten along with, and that we do have a good relationship. But I think a way to maybe remedy a situation where you're not in that position would be making sure you do have mentors and connections, like everyone said, kind of from all different backgrounds and different areas within your company, within your grad school department, outside, male, female, kind of co-mentor, where you're around the same age or older. Just so that you're getting different perspectives, so you have different people you can kind of reach out to and sound board off of, just so that, like we were talking about, if you're in a situation you're not really sure how to handle it, you have a bunch of different people that you can go to and kind of talk it through with.
So actually following up on Alex and Sam's comments, so how do you adjust your social and professional life so you do build that group of people, whether it's other PIs that maybe in the department or either other people in your position, especially if you're moving from, say, State College all the way up to Albany or Tennessee, where you may not know anyone or have any family in that area?
So So when I moved to Tennessee, I didn't know anyone there. Moved down there and they said, oh yeah, there's another young mining engineer that works here. He's working at this other site. You'll meet him eventually. So I went into company directory and got his phone number. He was a University of Kentucky mining engineer. He's a year older than I was. And texted him and said, hey, you want to meet for dinner sometime? Yeah, and we were both busy and couldn't make it work. And after about a month and a half of living down there, I finally got together with him. And it turned out that, so I did mine rescue here at Penn State. I was on our collegiate mine rescue team. And the first ever collegiate competition between college mine rescue teams was held when I was a junior, which this kid would have been a senior at the University of Kentucky at the time. I was captain of the Penn State team, and I'd forgotten he was captain of the Kentucky team. And we competed against each other and tied, and they won on the tiebreaker. And he was pretty happy, I was pretty not happy at the time. But we get down there and we go out to eat, and turns out we're like, oh yeah, we joked about that a little bit. We became really good friends, just because we were the same age and kind of the same situation. He was from Kentucky, which is only one state away, but he still didn't really know anyone in Nashville. Turned out we had similar interests. Even though I'm no longer with the company and he still is, and he's in Chicago, we still hang out every couple months. He'll come out, I'll go out, see each other at conferences. But also build a friend group at work. You just kind of look for people with similar interests or similar personalities to you. It's kind of just like being at school, only different. There's 60-year-old guys instead of, everyone's your same age, but, they still like the same things you like. You go fishing with them or do whatever they like to do outside of work, and just don't be afraid to try new things. I was never really into fishing and hunting, but, all of the hourly workforce in mining is. Everything. So it's still not really my thing, but I'll go and participate and, just hang out with them and get to know them, know their families, and take an interest in what their kids are doing at school, that kind of thing. And then the other thing I did was looked up the local Penn State Alumni chapter and, moved down there right after graduation in June, and football season came around in August, and went to their watch parties at the bar and met people that way. So.
I too went to watch parties with the Penn State alumni. Yep, in New Orleans. So if you're going to a bigger city or a larger metropolitan area, or if you work for a larger company, chances are there are some new professionals networks or young professionals networks in the city or in the company. And those are really good ways to get involved if that's what you choose to do, but also a really good way to meet people in the city. One thing that really helped me to make friends was finding the New Orleans kind of like intramural sports organization. It's called Play Nola. So I played flag football and softball for a bunch of seasons, made some really good friends, people that I hang out with outside of sports as well. But that was a really good way for me to meet people in the city that I only knew like a couple folks in.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, at least with me, I had this perception that grad students just don't really have a social life, and I don't know why I kind of had that feeling. I took a few grad classes here in undergrad time. I just felt like, wow, these guys seem so busy. What do they do in their free time, if they have any? And I think I quickly learned, being in Albany, that it's extremely important to have that work-life balance. And our department, like I said, is very social. The department's very diverse and has a lot of, they have all have a lot of unique hobbies. And I think everyone carries those over from their undergraduate time from their younger years, and they're able to still do that in their graduate career. For me, I enjoyed tutoring people here at Penn State when I was here, and I continue to be a tutor at Albany. I was in the swim team here, the club team at Penn State. I do the club team at Albany. So I kind of took some of those same things I did here, and I was able to still continue those on in my graduate career. And that helped build a lot of relationships, a lot of new friends. But specifically our department, they're very welcoming, and it was really good to see so many people approach and ask to hang out, go grab a drink, or just play kickball or something. It is cricket. I learned how to play cricket recently. We have a lot. It's just really unique intercultural experiences. We've done dumpling nights and movie nights. We saw John Williams perform at a local amphitheater here. So it's just a lot of unique experiences when you hang out with people with new hobbies that maybe you haven't been exposed to. I think that's one of the coolest things about being part of that department, going to grad school so far, is just diversifying my interests and meeting so many new people.
My trick is I try and say no as little as possible. So I've definitely done a bunch of like super random things, but it's really helped. A lot of companies, like you'll get emails, it's like, oh, we're like collecting for this, or like we're, you know, fundraising for that, and just try and get involved with everything that you can, and it's a great way to just meet people, and even if you don't, you know, want to do that activity or participate, at least you got a chance to meet some more people within the company, meet some more people maybe your age or have a similar interest, and so that's a great way to kind of branch out and meet people within your company. I've also done the like Hoboken version of Play NOLA, it's called ZOG, and so that's a great way to meet people. We like play sports and then go to like happy hour afterwards. Penn State bars are like the best place to meet people, especially if you're going to a larger city and you go to a Penn State bar, you will most likely run into another Penn Stater that you knew like while at school and didn't realize that they live in that area, especially now that I'm in like the New York area. I've gone to Penn State bars in Jersey and in the city, and like I've run into so many people that I didn't realize even lived in my area, and so now we hang out, and it's a really easy way to just like make new friends or rekindle old friendships. So like I said before, just like use Penn State. It's probably like one of the easiest ways to make a connection with someone, just because we're everywhere.
So for me, it was actually kind of very similar from what you heard. Is I got involved with Corning sports, so I play basketball, I play soccer. They also have young professional networks as well. Also, I go to the mosque, I do different things to involve myself in the community. I think for me, the biggest thing was getting that group of friends outside of work. And once I got that, then I felt I was like settled in a sense. But like I didn't feel like an intern per se. And so I really developed a good group of network, a good group of people that were outside of the workplace. But I really feel like the way that I was able to do that was because what I did at Penn State as an undergrad. I was involved in so many different clubs, from like African Student Association to Spanish Club to IM Sports to I was in Stuco. I was in a lot of different things, and that allowed me to make connections a lot easier. So when I met like a Nigerian coworker, I was like, oh, we gotta like eat some jollof together or something, and instantly there was like a connection. And then like, you know, I meet people with sports. For me, that's very easy to talk about, so I was able to develop a network with that. But it was by just involving myself in so many different clubs here on campus and just gaining that experience really allowed me to make friends a lot easier now that I'm working in a professional world. And so I think some of those things that we all should take advantage of is involving yourself in clubs and organizations here. You know, here there's like relations students. Nowhere else are there this many relations students here in a small area like maybe in the United States. So having like trying to figure out, you know, branch out those things, because if you're able to feel comfortable being uncomfortable now, it makes things a lot easier later.
We have about time for one more question before we wrap up upstairs. So we'll finish with this. What experiences or skills that you gained at Penn State you found to be most valuable in your career so far?
All of them. I think literally everything I learned in college I use, maybe not academically, but like, no, I think, like Zakariya was saying, like this, just the ability to like network by the fact that I was in like clubs, and now I know kind of how to network with other people by like using that. Every like professional setting that I've been in school has definitely prepared me for, you know, being in a meeting or, you know, attending a conference or any kind of thing like that. I think just taking advantage of all the opportunities within the university as a whole and the College of EMS has definitely made me feel ultra prepared for my career now. Even in my internship, I felt like I understood more of what was happening than I expected because of just the prep that I had here. So I don't know if there's like a skill that I could narrow down to, and like this has been the most helpful. I think ultimately, like my experience at Penn State has been way more beneficial than I ever thought it could be, to like just assimilating to being a professional, and transitioning to this like different space in my life.
Yeah, definitely every skill I gained here at Penn State through the College of Environmental Sciences, the Schreier College of Department of Meteorology, all of them made it so I could be who I am today. I guess just one specific thing that I think was one of the most valuable things I got out of Penn State was working on projects and being able to handle big data and everything, being good at coding. A lot of kids in the first year students last year weren't the best at computer programming and working on these bigger projects. And they eventually caught up and everything, but like it was definitely a handful of us were the ones who knew how to handle these harder projects, maybe dealing with bigger sets of data, how to deal with that. And so just being comfortable working on those kind of projects is definitely one of the most important things I got out of Penn State.
So the degree is what you get paid for. The science that you have, the technical curiosity is what you get paid for. But the way that you excel at your job, or at least for me, is developing human connection. And the way I did that was, as I kind of just said, was developing that network here at Penn State by just getting involved in all these different clubs and activities and things. What's something that was really profound to me was, at Penn State, somebody can be getting a 3.8 GPA and it can be great, and you're like, oh, who's this person? They're really smart. But those same people might not be so successful in the professional world, because in the professional world, they'll rather prefer somebody that's maybe not as technically gifted, but for somebody that they can work with, somebody that they can have a conversation with, somebody that they can debate with and keep it professional. And the technical skills are always can grow. And so what it came down to is like the degree, the science that you have is what you get paid for, but the way that you excel at your position is by finding ways to involve yourself in things that allow you to develop connections with other people.
I would agree with that 100%. Both in my own personal experiences as a student, and then once I got into industry, I actually had the opportunity to do recruiting, both at Penn State and other places. And the GPA is important. It's important that you do well in school, that you make the effort to do well academically. But we would strongly consider candidates that had, showed that they had practical industry internships, they wanted to be involved and were willing to learn and had a lower GPA than someone who had a higher, GPA but wasn't really as involved in the mining society, and wasn't as good at communicating or had personality issues. The thing that I got the most out of at Penn State probably was that I've carried through my career was just the ability to get involved in so much. Going to conferences, meeting people, getting the skills to, walk up to a booth at a conference and introduce yourself to somebody who's, 20 to 30 years older than you, established in the industry, and here you are at 18 to 20 years old, don't know anything yet, and say, hey, nice to meet you, I'd like to learn about X, or I'd like to hear more about what you're doing. That really is a huge skill that has served me very well. It's a skill that I wouldn't have developed and honed nearly as much had I not had the opportunities at Penn State to go to mining conferences, go on field trips to mines, get involved with the mine rescue team, the Student Mining Society. Like everyone else has said, just building those personal relationships, networking, meeting people, it's probably been the most valuable thing that Penn State's given me.
I feel like I need to say something really deep and profound. I don't know if there's anything else that I can say different from what you just heard from the rest of the panelists. But I guess the shining star of Penn State to me is just the ability to be involved in so much and to be exposed to so many different kinds of things, whether it's in the classroom, giving presentations, honing those skills, developing leadership skills. There's hundreds of organizations on campus. If you want to be active in one, you can find something that aligns with your interests and use that to provide an avenue for you to become a leader or to develop some leadership skills that you already have. the ability to work with people from all different kinds of backgrounds with different kinds of experiences. Overall, I think Penn State does a really good job of preparing me for the real world, because it's really a microcosm of, I don't know, pretty much anything that you could possibly see, regardless of what industry you end up in, where you end up working. So yeah, just having the opportunity to hone and refine soft skills, technical skills, and to graduate with a degree from Penn State and be capable of contributing and producing from the moment you step foot and begin your career, I think is phenomenal. And I'm sure most people would say that about their schools too, but I feel like Penn State is really special in that regard.
All right, well, I believe that's all the time we have left. If Dean Kump or anyone from the Judge Board would like to make some closing comments.
Well, sure, I can't help but, well, I just wanted to say I'm really flabbergasted. The maturity and the advice that you're giving is the sage advice. I think that if we had taken, we have some really successful, more senior alums in the audience here, faculty members, and if we had put that panel together, I'm not sure we could have come up with the spectrum of great advice, not just from, you know, graduates of the last decade, our gold alumni, but just in general. And so I really appreciate, and, you know, I have to say, I've had very little influence on most of you, but I still feel really proud of our group of 5 alumni here. So let's give them a big round of applause. So I didn't mean to hog the microphone if any of our GEMS alumni board or anyone else wants to make any closing comments, but otherwise I think let's take advantage of this opportunity, practice some of those skills with some of our more senior alumni and faculty in the audience, and get to know these people a little bit better in the next few minutes back up there. So thanks again all of you for coming. I'm really glad we have this on tape, because we're going to have to make this available for a much broader audience. I think, you know, trust that the advice we've been giving is going to be more broadly shared than just with this rather select group tonight. Okay, so thanks again. Okay.
With that, we'll head upstairs and see if maybe it's more good.
Thanks, folks. I really.
Oh, yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for having me.
One reminder.
30 years ago. Long.
The other question